Welcome to this month's Millennial Spotlight, brought to you by Lead with Intention. I'm Leslie Bosserman, Executive Coach and Lifestyle Strategist, partnering with millennial leaders and their managers. The purpose of these conversations with millennial changemakers is to deepen and extend the dialogue around how to lead with intention. This month, we're focusing on the intention of nourishment and how we can embrace this for our bodies, minds, and spirit. I'm excited to be here with Erin Alderson, the brainchild behind Naturally Ella, a vegetarian haven for foodies and home chefs who want to enjoy delicious seasonal fare in their own kitchen. I had the pleasure of meeting Erin shortly after we had our babies, and we quickly grew into friends and mompreneur cheerleaders of each other's work. So I'm also excited and super honored to be co-leading our Lead Wholehearted retreat coming up February 17th through 20th, 2017 with Erin. So more details, we'll tell you more in our conversation, but you can go to leadwholehearted.com and hopefully you can join us. So welcome, Erin.
Thanks for having me.
Oh, it's so great to have you here. So tell us a little bit about yourself and your background.
So I am a millennial. No big surprise there. But I started off in music and was doing music for quite a while. I played the bassoon and I really enjoyed that creative outlet. But I was not taking care of myself. I felt run down, I was overweight, and I knew that I really needed to change. And it wasn't until my father had a heart attack when I was a sophomore in college that kind of woke me up and really pushed me in the direction of wanting to eat healthier, be really mindful about what I was putting in my body, and just pushed me into caring about food. And from there, food became my passion. And in the past couple of years, it's become my full-time job where my whole hope is to really just inspire people to get in the kitchen, have fun, and eat a little healthier.
That's wonderful. And if you've checked out Erin's blog, naturallyella.com, she has an array of just really beautiful, but also very easy to follow recipes that I have enjoyed. I made some for Thanksgiving. And just super fun if you want to expand your palate. So there's my shameless plug for you.
Thank you.
Yeah, of course. So tell me a little bit about how Naturally Ella was born.
So I really started it as almost of a diary for to hold myself accountable. I was sharing kind of how I was going through this transition of being someone who wasn't healthy and who wasn't caring about what I was putting in my body to someone who was and was really into learning all about cooking and healthy fruits and vegetables. And so it started out as a really personal journey for me. And then in about 2010, I joined CSA, which is Community Supported Agriculture. And it was a place that I went every week and I got to pick my own fruits and vegetables on a farm. And I got to talk to the farmer.
How awesome.
And I know, it was amazing. And so the more that I got involved there, the more I wanted to share information and recipes and really become a hub for education about food, because I feel like the only way to really change is to have that education behind you.
So with that in mind, when you think of this intention of nourished and kind of being truly nourished, how does that strike you? How do you embody nourishment?
You know, it's easy to kind of go surface level with it, where, nourished as in the direct things I'm putting in my body. But I think that there's an overall deeper meaning to it in terms of being mindful about everything that you're doing, and mindful about everything you're putting in your body, and like drinking enough water and kind of being really in tune with what your body needs.
So how does one do that? So I hear this a lot about kind of knowing yourself, listening to yourself, being in tune. And it sounds like a really awesome concept. But if someone's very new at this, what advice would you give them to get started?
I always say baby steps. So for someone eats out all the time, eats fast food all the time, but really wants to get into learning to cook or to get more fruits and vegetables in their diet, just change one meal a week. Just get into the kitchen and have fun with something. If it fails, it fails. And then I think that the more you add that to your life, the more you can really be mindful about how you feel in your own body. I think it's really easy to gloss over that. I always like to remind myself to stop and take a deep breath sometimes, because we breathe all the time, but I forget that it's such a core part and really important to kind of center yourself with that. And I feel like food can be the same, where if you're nourishing yourself with these really healthy foods, and it helps you to kind of bring it back in and really be able to ask yourself, like, how am I feeling today? Did something I eat affect that? Did I not drink enough water? Did that affect it? And so I think that's a really good way just to kind of slowly start to work into that feeling.
I love that. It's super holistic in the sense that it's not just about what you eat or when you eat, it's the whole picture. And
Yeah.
I know like sleep and exercise and just self-care, all of those regimens, I mean, they come into play. And with this concept of nourishment, it's so multifaceted. And I think we automatically jump to food, and that's what your forte is. And I'm a budding foodie. I try at least. So
You're doing well. You're doing well.
Thank you. So those are the moments where you focus on that. But what other ways do you seek to nourish your life?
I think that finding ways to bring joy and happiness into your life are really important in nourishment. So for me, getting out and hiking is a way that I nourish myself, and I'm mindful about that, because I sometimes need that to center and to get away from the stress. I think it's really easy to kind of be consumed by work and by all of the day in and day out of everything, that sometimes it's good to have ways that you can pull back and really just stop for a little bit. And like I said, for me, that is going out and hiking, or going rock climbing in the mornings, or even just getting to hang out with my son and not having to worry about all the other things I need to do.
Yes, so much of it is just finding a place where our minds feel rested and feel, like you said, focused and almost free, where you're not having like the mental chatter in a sense.
Yes.
And kind of, I love that idea of getting out in nature and just like being able to exhale. I talk
Yes.
a lot about like disconnecting to reconnect. So how do you unplug from all the stuff so you can reconnect to something with more purpose and more nourishment?
Yes, exactly.
Yeah. So what have you noticed in other millennials? So when you look at your friends or your peers about seeking nourishment in their lives, what are they doing or not doing?
I feel like a lot of them are on kind of the same path as I am. At least my friends in the food community are, where it's a lot of focus on these natural ingredients, and these wholesome meals, but also then bringing in the aspect of getting out and exercising, being mindful about really kind of almost every facet of your life, because it's easy to gloss over things and stop being mindful about quality time spent with people, quality time spent with yourself, relaxing, the food aspect of everything. And so I think I see a lot of people of the millennial generation really being able to focus a little bit more on that. But I also see a lot of us kind of throwing ourselves into the work we're doing, which can be great, but can also be, we don't step back and do that. So I think sometimes we need a little bit more of the mindfulness and the ability to step back and kind of almost come up with a nourishment game plan for ourselves.
Oh, I like that. There's like the sense of not just going full steam or full throttle, but almost having like a permission to pause. And in that,
yes.
What is the pause? Where's the nourishment, both in the activity and in the pause?
Yes.
Yeah. So when I look at other 20, 30-year-olds out there, I see a lot of people turning more inward, and a lot of people view that as almost selfish. They view it as, wait, no, you have to put in your time, or you have to prove yourself in order to move up. Where a lot of the millennials are going, wait, I need to know myself before I know if I want to move up. So there's this almost tug-of-war between values and introspection versus work ethic. Mm-hmm. And I look at that as an interesting challenge for self-nourishment. So I just kind of put that out there. I don't know if you've seen that in your worlds, or if you have any advice for millennials who might be struggling with some of these things and these perceptions.
You know, it's interesting because I am definitely in the camp of the focusing on myself. I definitely if I'm not gaining, I'm trying to think of the best way to word this. If I'm not finding pleasure, if I'm not finding the nourishment I need from the things I'm doing, I don't force it, because I think that there is an opportunity to make small changes and large changes every day. And so it to me, if you're forcing something that doesn't feel good or feel like you're able to nourish yourself, I don't see that as an avenue that I want to pursue. But I see lots of people do it. And so I think that it has to be one of those personal decisions, and to really step away from the comparison, because it's also easy to compare yourself to your peers and go, well, they're doing that and I'm not doing that. Is that wrong? Or just the other day, my husband and I were talking about the idea of we expected to wake up and feel like an adult one day.
Yeah.
And the truth of the matter is that you don't have that moment. You just kind of, life just keeps handing you things, and eventually you look around and you go, oh, this is what being an adult is. I had no idea. And so I think it is just finding what works for you and finding your rhythm that allows you to be able to nourish yourself.
I think that's such sage wisdom. It's interesting. Psychology has come out with this new term in the last few years called emerging adulthood. So they look at people between 18 and 25 as their own subgeneration. So not exactly adults yet, because they haven't fully embodied what it means to be an adult. And I think that's where like the hashtag adulting has come in as well, and all the jokes that we make about ourselves. But I think there's a real push here, because that's such a critical period, and even beyond 25, obviously, of that self-care and the introspection and the knowing, what does my life need? Yet, if managers are listening to this as well, like, we have to ask ourselves this all the time. This isn't just a question for the millennials out there, but it's a people question. It's a question for all of us to ask, what does my life need so it can feel nourished now? And sometimes it's just a nap. Sometimes it's something bigger. And I think that's why we really decided to design this retreat, and to kind of put this concept of leading Wholehearted out there, because we wanted to carve out just this precious time to come together and be in nature, and to learn, and to eat, and to play, and to just connect. So,
well, I think you had mentioned earlier the idea of almost, I feel like sometimes we feel like we need permission to step back, or permission to slow down, or permission to even take that deep breath. And the person giving permission is ourselves. And so being able to allow yourself to do that is so important. And that's what I'm really excited about with this retreat, is that it's a way to kind of encourage yourself to be able to be a little bit more mindful and really focus on an overall nourishment of your life.
Yeah, and it challenges us as retreat leaders to say, wow, we're still working, but how are we pausing? How are we retreating as well? Which I think that's such a beautiful kind of concept of the teacher becoming the learner. So that's just, it's fun to be able to create experiences for other people who are at the same point where they just crave something more. And they want to feel completely and utterly like absorbed in an environment where they feel known and seen. And I think we need more of that in our society. Like, imagine if our workplaces, we showed up and we trusted our coworkers and our supervisors and our staff enough to be completely vulnerable and authentic. Like, what would happen? How would we transform?
That would be interesting to see.
It would. It would be a little scary, I think. Maybe a little crazy, but I think overall, if we had a culture of that, it would be pretty powerful. So when you think about building sustainable habits of nourishment, whether it's for millennials or for people who manage them, or maybe even their parents, what would you recommend as some kind of good benchmarks?
I think this goes back to really being really introspective and trying to know what feels right for you from a personal standpoint. And so, if if people want to take these changes or make changes or really focus on nourishment, and they can start with baby steps, and kind of trial and error is a wonderful thing, because you can move, you can try things. If they don't work for you, you can try different things. And it's really about learning about who you are, what you need. From a manager side of things, or from a parent side of things, I think it's easy to look at millennials and kind of go, oh my gosh, what are these people doing? Because I know my parents have looked at me like that numerous times. My father, I don't know how many, I can't count how many times he's called me just person in a whirlwind, because of how my life is constantly changing and shifting, and how I'm constantly doing different things. And I think that the one of the biggest things that they did for me was to really be able to foster that. And so anytime that I had an idea, they kind of helped me explore it. And so it was never like a direct no. Occasionally they were like, oh, is that really the best thing you should be doing? And, we talked about it, but I think having this open conversation is so helpful.
Yeah, and that just perspective that lives are dynamic, especially coming out of college and becoming entrepreneurs and becoming parents. There's this space of, we have to be open to whatever we're able to cultivate and create. And to have amazing parents and managers and a support system that not only gets that, but allows that.
Yes.
I think that's really powerful. And so I think, to echo what you said, just encouraging anyone who feels a little bit in that whirlwind, maybe you're noticing that for yourself, find a support group, find your tribe that gets that and can hold that for you, so you don't feel like you're doing it alone.
Exactly.
So any kind of words of caution or words of advice as we wrap up today?
I think when it comes to nourishment, it's easy to, it's kind of like, especially, now that we're coming up on the beginning of the year, it's easy to say, oh, well, my, New Year's resolution is going to be to focus on myself and focus on nourishment. I, for one, don't like New Year's resolutions, because I feel like they just have a certain connotation that goes with them of, leaving them, ditching them after a month. But I think one of the most important things to remember is that it's kind of, I would, if I can go back to a food reference, I also am not a fan of the term diet, because diet can sometimes imply that it's a short-term change in your life. Whereas I am a bigger proponent of life changes. And these life changes are often small and incremental, and they stick with you over months, over years. And so I think that when you're focusing on nourishment, it's important to remember that it's not going to be an overnight change. It's not going to be, oh, I know exactly what I'm supposed to do and exactly how I'm supposed to feel. It's going to be a transition over a long period of time, and something that ebbs and flows. And I think that keeping that in mind and being very mindful of that is going to be important.
Yeah, to reference what you said earlier, sometimes like your nourishment game plan, you don't know exactly where the finish line is, right? You know where you are right now and maybe what the next step might be, but it's uncharted territory.
Yeah.
And one of the things that I love on your new blog is this concept of not just publishing recipes that are beautiful and tasty, but there's the section where you can explore an ingredient. And you can say, I've never really cooked with spaghetti squash. What can I do with this weird vegetable that everyone's raving about, or kale? And you can look and see kind of how to use it in different ways. And in the same way, when you look at a practice like meditation or journaling, or something that maybe you have heard of or you've heard it referenced, but you don't really know how to explore it. You don't have to take on the world and learn every spaghetti squash recipe or every way to meditate, but you can start with that first step and say, I'm going to try it this way. I'm going to explore it this way. And I think those kind of micro nourishment moments, whether it's taking 5 deep breaths in the middle of a stressful meeting just to calm your mind, or taking 5 minutes between something so you can actually transition properly, or maybe even 5 hours to yourself if you have that luxury. It's a really powerful practice.
It is. It is.
Yeah. So is there anything else that you wanted to share with us before we're complete for today?
I don't think so. I feel like this was a really wonderful conversation.
Yeah, me too. And I think it's really timely, like you said, both for New Year's, but also for the holidays. Because we just finished Thanksgiving. We still have leftovers in our fridge. We're still being nourished with all that great turkey and cranberry sauce. But then there's this sense of kind of crashing into Christmas or Hanukkah or Kwanzaa or whatever you choose to celebrate and observe or not. We're crashing into the end of the year. And I really want to kind of put this out there. Let's not crash into 2017. Let's complete 2016 in a way that honors what we've learned and can feel really nourishing, can feel really good. So instead of just shopping like a crazy person and trying to check everything off our list, let's focus on what do we actually need in the next few weeks to feel complete for the year.
I love that.
Yeah. Thank you so much for being with us and sharing so much of your insight, Erin. I encourage you again to check out naturallyella.com to learn more about Erin's original recipes and getting more inspiration for your nourishment. Also, join us February 2017 in the Northern California Redwoods for our 3-day, 3-night retreat called Lead Wholehearted. Check it out at leadwholehearted.com and apply today. Hopefully, we'll see you there. We have some special offers that you won't want to miss as well. As you continue exploring how to nourish your life, make sure to check out leadwithintention.com for more insight and other perspectives of millennial changemakers. Erin's also shared some great resources on nourishment for your own self-study. So thanks again for being with us. This is Leslie Bosserman, inviting you to join the Wholehearted Leadership Revolution as you continue leading with intention.